Que lo que mi gente, Victor Coronado con Anti-Conquista. This is Victor Coronado with Anti-Conquista. Um, so I titled this piece Dominican Revolutionary Homenaje a Luis Jose Fernandez, or cariñosamente Luijo. That's what we used to call him. So who is Luijo and why am I talking about him? In 2006, I spent some time in the Dominican Republic. I am of Dominican descent. I was born and raised in the state of New Jersey. My parents were both born and raised in the Dominican Republic. In 2006, I spent some time in the city of Navarrete, and I became a member of an organization called Frente de Lucha Jesudiplan, or FREJU. And the leader of that organization was Luis Jose Fernandez, or again, we used to call him Luijo. Luijo was a revolutionary. He was a communist. He was a student of history. He was a nationalist in the sense that he cared very much about his country, cared very much about his people. He was a great leader, a great public speaker, a great organizer, and a valiant fighter. For those folks that don't know, the city of Navarrete has a long history of revolutionary armed struggle. And this isn't just some romantic notion, or, I've heard of other Dominicans and other people speak of Navarrete as this, this place of thugs and criminals and whatnot, and try to caricature these valiant young men and soldiers who have fought for a cause. This is real stuff that happens. This is and I witnessed it. And what type of stuff am I talking about? I remember conversations having with Luijo where he said to me, Víctor, tú ves ese hospital que está ahí. Eso fue producto de una huelga, de una lucha armada. Tú ves esa carretera que tenemos ahí, ya hecho. Eso también fue resultado de una lucha, de una huelga. Tuve, and he would give me examples. So what did he say? What's the translation of that? He said, you see that hospital that's over there? That was the result of armed struggle, of a protest, of a street protest, of battle. You see that street that's paved? That was also the result of another battle. And he gave me so many examples like that. And he would say to me, the government here, they only respond when we take to the streets. So you folks may have heard me mention before that the protests look a little different in the U.S. than they do in the Dominican Republic or elsewhere in Latin America. It's you have to really experience that. You have to go through that. You have to see it for yourself to really truly understand it. Otherwise, you can read about it, and if you're from the West, you're like, yeah, that's terrible, but you don't really truly understand it, or you may misinterpret it. But back to Luijo. About 4 years ago, he was gunned down in the streets of Navarrete. I'll put up an article here. Let's see here. And I'll read some of it, and I'll do my best to translate. I'm not the best in translating, but I'll translate a little bit. The title reads, Navarrete llora este domingo al luchador comunitario Luijo. Best probably interpreted as, the city of Navarrete is in mourning over the loss of community fighter Luijo, or Luis Jose Fernandez. It continues, Luis Jose Fernández, quien era dirigente popular en esa localidad, cayó víctima de varios disparos que le hicieron desconocido que viajaban en un vehículo en marcha. So he was gunned down by some unknown folks in a vehicle. And I'm going to play a little bit of this interview that I found online, but there's a picture of Luijo right there. That's our fearless leader, Luijo. And it continues. It says here, there he is again. Fernandez era miembro de Frente de Lucha Jesús de Plan o Frejú y estuvo preso por cuatro años implicado en un homicidio, pero un tribunal judicial lo puso en libertad en el 2013 tras declarar nula una condena de 20 años por otro tribunal. So what happened here? He was, well, they say that, obviously he was a member. He wasn't a member. He was the leader of Frente de Lucha Jesús de Plan. He was the absolute leader of that organization. And he got set up. I was traveling back and forth when it happened, and I got to speak to some folks. And the whole thing was a setup because at that time they were going after revolutionary communists and gunning them down. And if they couldn't gun them down, that they would do stuff like this. And so, unfortunately for Luijo, he got set up. He did some jail time, but his case was eventually overthrown by another court. And it's unfortunate because he did some jail time for something that he did not do, and everybody knew that in the community. You talk to people in the community, and everybody knew what happened. Luijo was home eating next to his mom when whatever happened. Someone was gunned down in the park a couple blocks away from Luijo's house. But these are the type of things that people go through. Young men, mostly young men. We did have 2 women in the group who were pretty badass. They were pretty badass, if I may say so myself. And they didn't take shit from no one. And they were also in the streets handling their business without getting into too many details. I'm looking at 2 pamphlets here that Luijo had given me. I still have them in my library. And so, I just wanted to pay tribute to Luijo, who got gunned down about 4 years ago. And I hope to do another video or 2 on this topic, on in honoring the legacy of Luijo Fernandez, or Luijo. So I have some ideas. I'm in contact with his family, with his widow, and so I'm hoping to bring more information about his life, celebrating his life and his legacy. I wanted to play a video, interview of Luijo after he was exonerated and was out of prison. You can just bear with me here just a second. Here we go.
José Fernandez, ¿cómo está usted?
Muy bien, me siento muy bien en clase, me siento en casa.
Usted tenía 3 años y 8 meses que no venía a Navarrete.
Exactamente, 3 años y 8 meses guardando prisión injustamente en el Centro de Corrección y Rehabilitación de Café y Hombres. Y hoy he recibido una calurosa bienvenida que me ha hecho sentir más que orgulloso. Hasta se puede interpretar como algo nostálgico la manera en que el pueblo me ha recibido. Y me siento muy agradecido tanto del pueblo como de cada uno de los medios de comunicación de Navarrete, que siempre me han apoyado, siempre creyeron fiel y firmemente en mi inocencia.
El equipo de producción.
So again, just for the folks who don't speak Spanish, he's talking about his time in prison, or the wrongful accusations and imprisonment, rather. And he said he was jubilant, very happy to be able to be out and to be received by his his people, who he said never wavered and had his support 100%, the entire time, and always believed in his innocence. I'm going to continue on with the video here.
Está preparando las imágenes, ¿verdad? Ok, vamos a ir viendo los momentos de esta tarde. Yo venía de Santo Domingo, aunque ya tenía la información de que se le iba a recibir en la rotonda. Ahí estamos observando ese momento. Eso es lo que estaban ahí, pero la receptividad de la gente en la calle, ¿cómo se observaba?
Bueno, muy buena, porque toda la gente tuvo un recibimiento muy cordial, muy bueno, o sea, fue muy caluroso todos los abrazos, el mano a mano con la gente, o sea, que me recordó los viejos tiempos y algo que extrañábamos mucho.
La familia y los hijos, esos primeros días, ¿cómo fue eso?
Bueno, en cuanto a la familia y los niños, siempre fue doloroso tener que ver que mis hijos me recibieran, por lo menos en la cárcel, pero ya por lo menos hemos visto que el rostro de mis hijos ha cambiado, tanto como ha cambiado el mío, dado a que al primer momento en que he llegado al municipio, todo ha sido alegría. Y sobre todo, gracias a Dios, porque solo Dios ha hecho posible todo esto.
Ahí lo están levantando como todo un candidato. Ya usted aspira a diputado, a síndico, a senador. O el tiempo dirá.
Hasta ahora sigo siendo el dirigente popular del municipio de Navarrete.
3 años, 8 meses, no se arrepiente de la forma de pensar.
So there you see images. Basically, what they're showing, what they're highlighting, is him being received by the community after he's released from prison. The passenger in the passenger seat, that's Ramon Estrella, his attorney, cariñosamente Monchi. And so, you see them lifting him up, and he's kind of going over the fact that, he's looking into his kid's eyes, and he sees that his kids, his children look different, right? They're aging. They're a little bit older now. He's aged. He looks older, and then obviously, he's impacted emotionally by the reception, the warm reception that he received from the community, from his people, and it made him nostalgic of because he was locked up for all those years, of him being in the community. And again, he was known for giving these eloquent speeches, and again, just a great organizer, right? Ideologically, again, a Marxist-Leninist, an anti-imperialist, a Dominican nationalist, and so he's sort of going over all that, going over all those emotions with the person who's interviewing him. I'll continue on with the interview, and just for a little bit.
Pensar, sentir y actuar, José Fernandez.
Nunca. Siempre firme.
Este canal se ve ahora en varios municipios, línea noroeste, provincia de Puerto Plata. Sería bueno que edifiquemos a la población en torno a en qué consistía esa acusación que se le hacía, la razón por la cual guardaba prisión, y cómo los abogados de su defensa, Ramón Estrella, amigo mío todos, Abel Rodríguez, Ilvio Carrasco y Eróstide Rodríguez, lograron desmantelar esa acusación.
So I'm not going to play the rest of it, because after that they get into the details of the case, and I didn't want to go into that right now. But he asked him, you look like a candidate, like a politician. You have any plans of running? And Luijo, starts laughing. And then he just reminds him. He says, "No, I'm the leader of this group, and that's my focus right now." And again, you're seeing him received by his community. We're at almost 15 minutes now. I'm trying to keep these very short videos. This isn't un informe. It's not an informe. It's just more me. I've just been, I was thinking about Luijo last night, and I know I've been wanting to do something. This is very free form. I normally come a little bit more prepared, but I figured, let me just shoot from the hip and do a more freestyle, if you will, right? And I just wanted to let the world know, you know, about Luis Jose Fernandez, cariñosamente Luijo. I'm hoping to do a part two, maybe part three to this, maybe with some of his family and friends and former comrades. But again, you know, this story that I've given to you folks, this is commonplace in Latin America and the Caribbean. Revolutionaries get gunned down simply for being revolutionaries, right? And it was a wonderful experience. I don't want to make this about me, because this is all about Luijo, obviously. But I gotta say, from my perspective, it was part of my revolutionary education, if you will. Um, Organizing with these young men and women, um, in my mother country, right? Um, it was just it was transformative. Um, I don't suggest. I'm not saying that people need to do this per se. I'm not challenging anybody to go back to Latin America and do this per se. However, um, I will tie it into some of the work that we do here at the Conquista. You see there at the ticker, we're going to keep reminding folks that we've given over 100,000 US dollars to different groups in Latin America. The money that you folks donate to us, we pass it on to progressive and revolutionary organizations on the ground doing real things in the community, in these respective Latin American and Caribbean nations. And so I hope that you would consider, donating to us. And if you don't, for whatever reason, I've been bigging up the Alliance for Global Justice. That's a great organization. I've talked about Orinoco Tribune, who's doing. I mean, they're putting out so much material about what's happening in Latin America, and that's why I'm doing these videos. Again, this wasn't an informant. I wanted to just let the world know and pay my respects to Luis Jose Fernandez, and make sure that his legacy doesn't die. Um, Pero that's what I plan to do, is to do a bunch of informants. So I got a bunch of stuff lined up. I'm not a journalist. I'm not an academic. I didn't go to school. I didn't graduate from college. I'm an IBEW union worker. I work a lot of hours. Um, and my passion and focus is Latin American history and politics, and Latin American contemporary politics. I keep mentioning how there's a revolution happening in Latin America. There's a moving train that's happening in Latin America, and it's scaring a lot of people in Washington. They don't know what the fuck to do with Latin America. We have these two Gusano lawmakers. I'm going to do a separate video on that, who introduced a bill recently, basically an anti-China influence bill, let's just call it. And so, the folks in Washington have realized that, this is happening. The world is changing. China has become a great ally of the revolutionary progressive peoples of Latin America, and Latin America is reclaiming its sovereignty and independence. You're seeing much more and more integration, and so these movements are happening everywhere. You can call it. I hate the term pink tide, to be honest with you. The more that I think about it, I don't like the term pink tide. I think this is a revolutionary movement. This is a revolutionary socialist movement that's happening in Latin America. Let's be clear about what's happening. It's a if you will, a second wave of independence, where progressive and left-wing and revolutionary socialist governments are giving the middle finger to Washington and saying, no more. You're not allowed to come into our respective countries and rape us and use the IMF and the World Bank and the OAS and NED and USAID and the CIA to come in here and do whatever the fuck, and all these multinational corporations to come to our home and do whatever the fuck you think you want to do with us. That's not happening anymore. And so the peoples of Latin America and the Caribbean are reclaiming their independence. And it's people like Luis Jose Fernandez, who who are on the ground fighting imperialism, fighting capitalism, fighting for socialism. And so, I'm at 20 minutes now. I'm going to leave it there. I hope you've enjoyed this video.